In one episode of I Love Lucy, things went so wrong that Lucy and Ethel entirely broke character.
In the middle of the scenario, they really started to chuckle. The producers had to make a choice because their real emotion was so strong. You can either shoot the whole scene again or keep this unforeseen moment.
The crew was surprised by what transpired next.
They made a choice that changed TV forever instead of saying cut.
The people that are laughing on TV aren't acting. It's real, unplanned feeling. And they kept it going for a bad cause. Before the cameras started rolling, Lucy and Des were making approximately $5,000 a week jointly. That was a good wage for a TV show in 1951. They wanted to film the show on 35 fans in Hollywood, but that cost a lot more than CBS had planned to spend. At the time, their offer seemed nearly stupid. They agreed to get paid less each week as long as they could keep full ownership of the filmed episodes. Back then, reruns were thought to be meaningless, so executives didn't care much. People thought that a show couldn't be shown twice because everyone would have already watched it. So CBS agreed and went on.
No one anticipated that choice would lead to a peaceful revolution. Those 179 filmed episodes were shown again and again all over the country during the next 10 years. After that, they expanded to other countries. By the early 1960s, Lucy and Des had sold those same shows back to CBS for over $4 million.
One salary cut led to affluence for generations.
No one saw it coming, but it altered the business. But there were more surprises to come. Lucy wanted two individuals she already trusted long before Vivian Vance and William Froley came along.
From 1948 until 1951, Unedited and Gail Gordon worked with her on My Favorite Husband. They played Iris and Rudolph Atterbury on that show. They were a married couple whose timing and rhythm were just right for Fred and Ethel. Lucy and her writers understood that they would be a good fit for the new show. When I Love Lucy started pre-production in 1951, these names were at the top of her selection of songs. Then everything went wrong in the most normal way. Deals. The George Burns and Gracie Allen show was linked to Unedited. Gordon was busy with other radio and TV projects.
They both had to say no, even though they wanted to go. But the story changed for the better years later. Gordon later joined Lucy on multiple episodes, and Unedited became a success in her own right when she starred in Petticoat Junction from 1963 to 1968.
Music, the roles went away, but their careers didn't.
The show Lucy and Des were making, on the other hand, was about to change television from the inside out. Many people thought Des came up with the three-camera setup when CBS decided to air I Love Lucy in 1951. But the true builders were music, Carl Freund and Al Simon. They had worked in studios for years and knew how to take a concept that was already there and turn it into something snappy and dependable. They set up three 35mm Mitchell B&C cameras to work at the same time. One took a wide shot. The others took pictures from a distance and up close. There were no breaks in the performances. Desilu rented the old General Service Studios on Las Palmas Avenue to make this happen. The owner, Jimmy Nasser, let them rebuild two soundstages even though the place was almost out of money. They expanded seats for around 300 people and still followed all the fire code regulations. The setup appeared different when the team was done. It shocked the industry in 1952. An entire episode might be recorded in about 60 minutes of real time. The scenes played out in a single rhythm. Actors kept going strong. Editors got really clear stuff. The show also became the best comedy machine in Hollywood. It came on American TV like a shock on Monday night, October 15, 1951, at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, when families were sitting down to watch it and settle in. In just 1 year, this short sitcom was getting into more than half of all homes that had a TV. The number of viewers for music was 50.9 Nielsen, with an average of roughly 23.3 million people watching during the first season from 1951 to 1952. No other things from that time started off like that. Then the show became better and better each season. It was the most popular show in America 4 times from 1951 and 1957. Before, no written show had ever done that. The last new episode aired in May 1957, and the show was still at the top of the ratings when it ended. That kind of exit music didn't happen again until the Andy Griffith Show ended in 1968 and then Seinfeld in 1998. In the early 50s, this level of dominance on TV felt surreal.
But it was there every Monday night. On January 19, 1953, the country observed something unexpected. The President of the United States lost to Lucy's pregnancy episode. That night, the episode Lucy Goes to the Hospital revealed the birth of little Ricky.
It had roughly 44 million viewers, which is about 71.7% of all TV homes in the country.
Dwight D. Eisenhower took the oath of office the next day. But over 29 million people watched his inauguration telecast. So, approximately 15 million more people preferred to see a sitcom mom give birth in a New York City apartment than a real general become president in Washington. It was the best proof that this show kept people in the United States interested like no other. 2 months later, the show reached a peak that, when you read it, almost looks like a mistake. On March 8, 1953, 72.6% of American homes with a TV saw a single Monday episode of I Love Lucy. According to Nielsen, over 15.8 million TV homes watched the show, which is about 40 foot, 431 close to 200 people for just half an hour of comedy. It meant that on a neighborhood in early 1953, if 3 neighbors had TVs, 2 of them were watching Lucy Ricardo that night. And a lot of other episodes from the same season were in the high 60s and low 70s. The show was no longer merely for fun.
It had become a weekly national event where people all over the country laughed at the same time in their living rooms.
The stats from the first full season make it even obvious.
During the years 1951 to 1952, CBS had an average audience of roughly 23,363 individuals, music, for each show, which was linked to a huge 50.9 household rating.
Half of all TV homes that had the set on were viewing the same show.
A lot of Americans were still getting their first TVs at that time. But I Love Lucy already acted like a permanent part of the national routine. No other new music show from the early 1950s had a viewership and share that came close to that. Trade papers and networks started to see Lucy and Desi as a new type of TV creative, someone who could bring in tens of millions of dollars every time they were on air.
It was money that proved it. By 1953, each original program was bringing in almost $1 million in commercial revenue.
That comes up to about $11 million for one 25-minute comedy program today. Advertisers who marketed cigarettes or household goods were happy to pay that because the show could reliably reach more than 40 million viewers every Monday night. Lucy's visage started to crop up on toys, jewelry, clothes, comic books, and even ads for furniture. It built one of the first TV-based businesses that sold things. The combination of high ratings and a rising audience saw this show go from being a sitcom to the model for the modern TV franchise that makes most of its music money long after the show airs. When Lucille Ball found out she was pregnant in the middle of 1952, the news didn't make her feel as happy as she thought it would. She didn't celebrate, she went straight to fear since CBS execs almost canceled the whole show. Back then, it was thought that showing pregnancy music on TV was dangerous. People were afraid it would upset people. Some people even said that families would stop watching, so they had meetings where there was a lot of tension as they talked about canceling the show. Jess Oppenheimer would not let that happen. He kept pushing because he thought Lucy's true pregnancy may bring something new to the show. He fought with CBS for a long time, but they finally agreed to let it happen, but only after they made tough regulations. A priest, a rabbi, and a Protestant minister had to look over each script. This was the first time a major network let a pregnancy show on TV, and it impacted TV in a big but quiet way. As time went on, new rules came. CBS and Philip Morris made music a band so strong that the cast couldn't speak the word pregnant at all, not even during rehearsals. People had to say something like expecting or having a baby or the French word enanti instead. But there was a minor flaw in the law. There were never any episode titles on screen. So media might publish a list saying pregnant women are unpredictable without breaching any rules. That small trick highlighted how weird broadcast censorship might be, even when a show was trying to move forward. Then came the night that changed history.
Lucy had des Essayarns Jr. by caesarean section on January 19, 1953.
At the same time, an episode called Lucy Goes to the Hospital was shown all throughout the US.
More than 44 million people saw it. That was 72% of all the homes in the country.
Movie theaters also showed the episode on their large screens because it was such a big deal. It saved the show, showed that people wanted real tales, and changed what TV might be. The show wasn't perfect, of course. A microphone boom fell into the frame and stayed there for 53 seconds in one nightclub scene. It was hanging over the actors, and no one seemed to see it. Early TV moved so quickly that it was easy for blunders to get by. The crew only had one microphone to record everything, so they only paid attention to the sound. So, the boom stayed. Because it lasted almost a minute, fans still pointed it out. There were other mistakes as well. Lucy dashed between rooms during the pilot, when a wall that was supposed to be unseen suddenly appeared. During a phone call, even a camera, music, rolled into the frame. In those days, 3 cameras worked at once, and it was hard to keep them all hidden. There wasn't enough time to fix items like that because of how fast the filming was going. Because of this, the moment stayed on the air and became one of the show's many little yet endearing mistakes. At times, their mistakes were considerably bigger. The old automobiles in Lucy Learns to Drive couldn't move at all, so the crew hooked thick black cables to them and pulled them into view. The cables are plainly visible in the images, especially as the automobiles moved. High-definition copies make the cables even easier to see, which makes this episode a favorite for viewers who like to see vintage production gimmicks. Not every surprise was a bad thing, either. In the mustache episode, Lucy put on a man's clothes to get into a club. Her artificial mustache slipped off when she was rushing to get away. She and Ethel suddenly burst out laughing. It wasn't intended. The producers preserved the take even though it wasn't in the script because the happiness on their faces seemed so real. Their friendship and timing came through easily, and that moment became one of the most popular bloopers in the whole show. There were also small alterations that got through the manuscript. Ethel's middle name changed a few times. There was Roberta in one episode, Louise in another, and May in a different one. The apartment number changed from 3B to 3D once the baby was born, and Desi Arnaz's name was spelled Des Essayarns in the end credits for a whole season of music. Over time, these strange facts became amusing trivia. Early sitcoms moved quickly, and things that didn't break the story often stayed in by mistake. But the biggest shock came in September 1953, when radio gossip columnist Walter Winchell said on his broadcast that Lucille Ball was a communist. He mentioned that just hours before they started filming in front of a live audience. The studio went into a panic right away. Sponsors were worried about the worst. CBS was afraid of the worst. During the Red Scare in America, allegations like that could ruin people overnight. Lucy was worried about more than only her job, she was also worried about her family. It seemed like the world she had crafted was ready to fall apart. The truth about it goes back to 1936, when she was 25. Because her grandfather Fred Hunt, a dedicated socialist, urged her to, Lucy had signed up to vote as a communist in California. Her brother and mother also signed up. Lucy never voted for a communist party, and her registration lapsed after 2 years. But the FBI found her affidavit in 1952. They also identified her name on a list of delegates to the California State Central Committee of the Communist Party. It didn't matter if she ever took the job seriously or not. Those papers were real. Once they were out in the open, they became fuel for dread. In April 1952 and again on September 4, 1953, Lucy had previously given whack confidential testimony. She said she merely signed up to make her granddad happy. She said over and over that she had no ties to the party, wasn't interested in it, and didn't plan to follow it. Whack agreed with what she said. They let her go, but the harm was done as soon as the tale got out. People muttered, the news got louder, and the fear followed her everywhere. J. Edgar Hoover looked over her file himself. He read her testimony and the old registration papers. She told the police very clearly that she was not a communist and never had been. Hoover let the committee clear her, But he kept her file open, something he regularly did with people from Hollywood. It highlighted how stressful the time was and how much people paid attention to celebrities who affected public opinion.
Desi Arnaz stepped in as the scandal threatened to ruin the show.
He brought together the press, the network, and the sponsors. He stood in his house and defended his wife with a statement that would be heard in music for decades. He said that all he read about Lucy was her hair, and that wasn't even real. He made a call to Hoover.
Hoover said that Lucy was safe. Desi told everyone the news and then led Lucy in front of the live audience. People stood up.
The applause felt like a lifeline to her.
At that point, the situation was over. The show went on. Lucy's job remains alive.
And one of TV's biggest performers stayed on because someone who loved her wouldn't let fear win. Vivian Vance's stomach dropped when she found that she would be working with William Frawley on I Love Lucy in 1951.
She was 42. He was 64 years old. From the beginning, she didn't like the age difference and didn't disguise it well.
She told the producers that she was getting married to an old coot, and behind his back, she dubbed him an old crap.
Frawley heard the whispers and got angry immediately away. He called her old fat ass and said it so often that it became a regular part of the set. Their insults came like clockwork.
But when the camera light turned red, they acted like nothing was wrong and went into Ethel and Fred.
In between takes. Be quiet.
There was no eye contact or small talk, just a frigid distance between them that the crew pretended not to see. Greg Oppenheimer said years later that Vance was really upset about the age difference and loathed the idea that people thought she belonged with him. She even made fun of Fred, music, by calling him "Oh Fat Freddy" on some episodes. Every jab made a wound that never healed over the show's 7 years on the air.
The anger didn't go away once I Love Lucy stopped in the late 1950s.
People who made the show talked about doing a spin-off about Fred and Ethel.
Frawley was excited by the notion.
It seemed like a chance to keep his career going, but Vance shut it down as soon as she heard it. She indicated she would rather quit than work alone with Bill Frawley. She also thought that Lucy and Desi were the only things that kept the Mertzes from working. She feared the show would fall apart without that. Her refusal ended the initiative in a matter of seconds. She even said no to a bonus check so she wouldn't have to stand next to him again. In 1975, when someone asked her about it on the Dina Shore Show, she grinned and stated she didn't regret it.
The worst time was early on in the show's life. In 1952, Broly heard Vance remark to the
producers about how old they were. She had claimed that the audience would never believe that she was married to that elderly man. He was hurt more by her words than she knew. He had worked in vaudeville for decades and expected respect, not shame.
From then on, he didn't give her the benefit of the doubt anymore.
His insults, music, got sharper and more personal, and the mood on set got colder. For years, people talked of the conflict in hushed tones.
Frawley never forgot that, that's for sure. He made everything worse by drinking.
Desi Arnaz had to put tough terms in Frawley's contract, namely that he would be fired if he showed up inebriated. He still drank a lot, even though he knew he was in trouble. His hands shook so much throughout scenes that he had to keep them in his pockets during filming.
Crew members said he was moody and would get angry out of nowhere. Era even paid someone to pick him up from Nicodell, a spot he went to too often.
Everyone in the group could feel how bad his addiction was. But he always came through when the camera was on. Arnaz kept him around because he was so good and because he cared about him. The word spread quickly when Frawley died after a heart attack on March 3, 1966. She heard about it while eating dinner with friends. She didn't stop to be sad, instead, she raised her glass and yelled, "Champagne for everyone." People at the music table looked at her and didn't know what to say. Reporters came to talk to her, but she wouldn't talk about him and stayed away from any memorial services. For years, she stayed quiet.
Crew members and even Frawley's family members said she refused.
Fans were shocked because they had witnessed the two of them love and fight on screen for 7 seasons. Vance had given her last speech without saying anything kind. At the same time, there was another storm encircling Desi Arnaz. Scott Bowers said that he set up 2 or 3 women for Desi each week during the years that I Love Lucy was on TV from 1951 to 1957. Bowers started off as a gas station attendant and worked his way up to being one of Hollywood's secret fixers. In his 2012 memoir, Desi said that he liked any nice-looking girl who was easy to get along with, and most of the women didn't know who he was. The pace hardly eased down, even when Lucy's prominence grew. Later, journalists and biographers backed up some of Bowers's narrative, which made the charges more believable. In the middle of the 1950s, Lucille Ball finally faced Bowers at a party. "How dare you pimp for Desi in front of everyone," she said as she walked up to him. For years, rumors had been building, and this moment felt like a release of pressure. Bowers stated he felt ashamed, but he kept saying that he simply did what people asked him to do. Later, writers who looked into the dark side of Hollywood corroborated the fight and said it was one of the few times Lucy admitted to cheating in public. The January 1955 issue of Confidential magazine had the title, "Does DIY Really Love Lucy?" The narrative said he used Vice dolls and told about an event at the Beverly Hills Hotel where a pal ordered 2 cuties, medium rare. At its peak, Confidential had over 5 million subscribers, thus the scandal spread quickly. The magazine was sued for all kinds of celebrity exposes, but DeCessi's reputation was hurt for good. People spoke about the piece for years after it came out. In 1977, DeCessi finally told his own story in his memoir, A Book. He said that both he and Lucy had cheated on each other. He said that their love life fell apart because they fought more and more, and they both looked for consolation in other people. He said that by the end of the 1950s, he hadn't slept in their master bedroom in almost a year. People were astonished by his honesty because stars from that time didn't often tell such unpleasant facts. Biographers frequently cite the memoir as the most transparent insight into the dissolution of their marriage. Lucy Arnaz, their daughter, subsequently said that her father's affairs were a very strange and unusual music problem. She stated he loved Lucy and her family very much, but he couldn't stop going after other women. Lucy knew how the cycle worked, but she couldn't take it anymore. Their divorce in 1960 put an end to years of fighting. Lucy remembered that things were better after that because the stress eventually stopped. Her thoughts demonstrated how deeply the cheating affected the family's emotional life. Even with all the drama, Lucy and Desi kept making important choices. In 1951, they agreed to lower their weekly pay from $5,000 to $4,000 so they could film I Love Lucy instead of doing live broadcasts. CBS would not pay for the shoot. So Lucy and Desi said they would take the cut only if they got to keep all of the filmed episodes. That meant they owned 80% of it. By 1953, they were only making about $2,000 per episode. But the risk paid off. The show became a hit all over the country, and owning the episodes made them more than stars. It made them trailblazers. They sold the rights to syndicate the show back to CBS for $4.5 million, which is nearly $40 million today. Their business, Desilu Productions, started getting bigger and bigger. They filmed everything on 35mm film, which was costly but great for reruns. They helped start The Untouchables in 1959 and The Andy Griffith Show in 1960. Lucy bought Desi's shares for $3 million when he quit Desilu in 1962. She was the first woman to oversee a major TV studio. Under her direction, Desilu approved Star Trek and Mission Impossible in 1966. Both series later become billion-dollar hits. I Love Lucy is still not going away. More than 70 years after it first came out, millions of people watch it every year. About 40 million people in the US watch reruns every year. More than 6 million people watched CBS's colorized Christmas Spectacular in 2013. Almost half of all TV households watched the show when it first aired. The pregnancy program got 44 million viewers in 1953, which is around 72% of all TV homes. The show has been translated into several languages and shown in over 100 countries. The show made 179 episodes of music over 6 seasons, from October 15, 1951 to May 6, 1957. It won 5 Emmys and changed the future of TV by showing how popular film sitcoms and reruns could be. The model they established is still making money for studios decades later. The show was popular all around the world, and every year it gets new viewers. When Lucy sold Diesel Salute to Paramount in 1967 for $17 million, which is nearly $156 million today, her legacy expanded even further. She had been in charge of the studio for years, starting shows and setting standards for the business. The way she made decisions about production, ownership, and syndication had a big effect on how we watch TV now. People still think of her as one of the most important people in the history of entertainment, and the shows she battled for are still popular in every part of the business.